Good evening and welcome to Money Matters. My name is Charlie Huntington and I'm Public Relations Chairperson for Life Sciences PA. Life Sciences PA is the voice of advancement for Pennsylvania's bioscience, medical device, CRO, and healthcare IT industries. Tonight, we're pleased to continue our special series on science leaders in our local community. From time to time, financial issues relating to life sciences, healthcare, or technology matters or companies may be discussed on the show. These discussions are not and should not be viewed as financial advice. Moreover, since this program is pre-recorded and shown at a later date, please keep in mind that the information may no longer be current. You should always check with your financial advisor before entering into any financial transaction. Tonight, I'm pleased to have with me as my co-host, Kimon Hatza. Kimon is a business attorney and partner with Growth Counsel, LLC in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. His focus is in the life sciences, healthcare, and information technology areas. Welcome, Kimon.
Thanks, Charlie. Happy to be here.
Great to have you here. Can you tell us what is new with your practice since our last show?
Sure. Actually, things have not skipped a beat, really. The summer was busy, and this is typically our busiest time of year, the fourth quarter. And we have a lot of transactions in-house. I guess despite the Fed's efforts to cool down the economy and slow inflation, at least as it relates to our practice, that has not had an effect so far. I am presently working on an M&A transaction for a life sciences consulting company. I'm also working on a joint venture for two life sciences companies. And my colleagues have had in-house, and it looks like we're starting yet another financing transaction. We have a number of financing transactions for both life sciences companies and tech companies. So it's been busy, and I'm expecting it to certainly be that way through the end of the year.
Well, we've heard about a slowdown, so that's great news to hear that you and your practice couldn't be busier. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we've got a busy show tonight, but before we get going, I want to remind our viewers, here's how you can have your question answered on a future show.
You can have your questions answered on Money Matters. Please go to our website, money-matterstv.com. On our homepage, click on the banner on the right that says, Send us your questions. While you're on our website, you can find information about our host and guests, as well as show notes and links about this show and past shows. Money Matters is also available as a podcast on iTunes and Stitcher, so you can listen to Money Matters while you're on the go. That website address, again, is money, MONEY, -matters, MATTERS, TV.com.
It's with great pleasure that I introduce Carlos Tellez. Mr. Tellez is chairman of Steel Jupiter in Radnor, Pennsylvania. Steel Jupiter's mission is to commercialize an innovative life-saving technology developed by university scientists that will significantly reduce human exposure to airborne viruses. Prior to Steel Jupiter, he was president, CEO, and a board member of Synovus Incorporated, which he grew from a $20 million business processes outsourcing company to a global operation with annual revenue of $500 million in locations across North America, Europe, and Asia. He's also held extensive roles at Fluor Corporation and Lockheed Martin, and has worked at the U.S. Office of Management and Budget and at the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission. He has a bachelor's in science in mechanical engineering from Stanford and a master's of public policy from Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. Outside of work, he's a Boy Scout Troop Committee member for Troops 267 and 7155 in Greater Philadelphia. He's active with American GI Forum, which is a nonprofit supporting Hispanic veterans, and he's on the Union League's committee overseeing management of historical art and artifacts in Philadelphia. Carlos, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Charlie, and Kimon. It's great to be here.
Carlos, you are not in a studio like we normally see our guests. Can you tell our viewers where in the world you are?
Sure, I'm in a town just south of Tucson, Arizona called Sahuarita, and we're locating. This is the future site of our R&D facility. We've worked very closely with University of Arizona, based in Tucson, and so we wanted to locate our R&D facility here to be close to the scientists and engineers at the University of Arizona.
That makes great sense and looks like a beautiful facility for you guys to use in your growth. How did your background in the defense industry prepare you for this healthcare company?
Well, I think that in several ways. One is just the technology and technology commercialization, whether it's applied to particularly Fluor and Lockheed Martin. I was involved more in the facility operations for nuclear facilities, and certainly the intense regulation is you learn very well what that means, because you're dealing with materials and substances that can impact human health and safety, the workers and outside of that, and just the application of technology to solve some of the most challenging problems you have in dealing with that. So I think that's been a very good training ground for me right now.
Carlos, can you tell us a little about Steel Jupiter and describe your initial product, please?
Sure. Let me tell you a little bit about how we came to be and what our mission is. So our mission really is to bring novel technologies out of the laboratory and bring them to really help protect human health and the environment. And that's our mission. That's our goal. And part of that is we want to make sure those technologies are available to everyone, including, or especially, I would say, those that are most at greatest at risk. In the case of COVID, that's certain populations such as Native Americans, Black Americans, Hispanics. It's those with pre-existing conditions. It's first responders. But all those communities, and then particularly communities that are disadvantaged and have not had access to the best technology, whether that's rural communities, lower economic, or whatever that's based on. And we saw during COVID the fact that, first responders couldn't get proper PPE, or many other communities, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen with our product. And so that's really our mission first and foremost. We have a lot of other technologies that are in the queue, but right now we're focused primarily on the one technology, which was invented by scientists in the UK, that if you apply it to the filtration media that's used for master filters, it significantly enhances the ability of those mechanisms, those products, to trap and immobilize the virus. Right now, the virus, it's submicron. That doesn't just apply to COVID, but viruses tend to be very small, and those filters for mask and air filters were meant to capture particulate. And these submicron particles slip through most of it until you get to really a HEPA level filter, which is not feasible for most applications, and certainly not feasible for a mask. You wouldn't be able to breathe through it. But nonetheless, we want to be able to make existing products better, and then in the long run, design better products, so better masks that are easier to breathe through, because with this coating, it'll still capture the virus, make it easier to breathe through. So when and if there's requirements you have to wear masks, and certainly first responders and hospital workers wear masks all the time, we'd like to deliver more protective but easier to breathe through PPE for them as well. So that's kind of how we got started back in 2020, and we're on the path now. We've even though we're calling this our R&D facility, we know how to make the product at scale. We know we can coat materials at scale. We know it's effective. And so right now we're going through final validation testing, final approval with the appropriate regulatory agencies. And once we get through that process, we'll be ready to launch the product.
Well, I know that you take great pride in your products, and the fact that they'll cater to high-risk populations and underserved clients, is an incredible mission.
Well, we're very proud of that, and I would just say that I'm a very blessed individual because I've had I would say three really advantages that have brought me to this point. One is, great family, and that's my parents, grandparents, godparents, et cetera, that, really taught me about a strong work ethic, gave me a strong moral compass and an optimistic belief about life in general and people in general. My existing family, my wife and sons, who are a constant source of joy and inspiration. And then one of the things that's really come together with this is my friends and colleagues who I've maintained relationships with, many of whom are involved in this, either directly from working with us or helping fund the company, or just well wishes and inspiration. So, I feel like everything I've done up until this point in my life has led to this, and really is significant in making this a successful endeavor.
That's great.
Carlos, does your product utilize proprietary technology of any kind?
Yes, it does, and that's why I really can't talk too much about it on this
Okay.
call, but or this interview. But yes, it uses proprietary technology. Right now, it's going through the patent process, and but our goal really is, we don't want to do exclusive deals with any mask, or we don't plan on making masks and filters. We want to sell this product to mask and filter manufacturers. And as we learned during COVID, there's no one company, even very large ones, that can supply the entire nation's or North America's and really global market. So our initial focus is on North America. We want to have our product made here, so that, again, we don't want to run into supply chain issues. I mean, masks and filters are still subject to other, but we want to make sure our product is here, it's available. And when I say here, I mean North America. We're basing our operations in America, in the United States, so that we minimize any supply chain issues with our coating.
Okay. Did you develop this proprietary technology internally, or are you licensing it from another party?
We're licensing it from the inventor, and the inventor, is a university professor. He has many patents under his belt, very accomplished gentleman, but needed help to really commercialize this and, be able to take it to the market. It's one thing to do it in the lab. It's another thing to actually make it work at a larger scale and make sure it's safe and effective for all the potential consumers. So plus going through the patent process, going through the regulatory process, all those things are very time consuming, expensive, et cetera. So, we're working through all that. And he continues to be, obviously a key part of the program, because with everything, there's a lot of trial and error, and you need that technical expertise to continue to drive to the solutions to any issues that we faced.
What kind of regulatory approvals will you need to get before you can, fully commercialize your product?
Well, masks are regulated by the Food and Drug Administration, and filters, which is something found out in this process, really fall under EPA. And EPA has the charge to approve anything decided, that it's going to trap, kill, or otherwise immobilize pests, and viruses are considered a pest. So, we're working with EPA now on, what's the regulatory regime that would apply to our product. We'll continue to support, any information they need to evaluate the safety, efficacy of the product. We're confident that it will be approved, not to prejudge the outcome, but knowing that it's a low risk product, knowing all the benefits of it, because the benefits are not just health and safety. It's has a strong energy component to it, because right now with filters, the solution to try to capture the more submicron levels is to go to a higher and higher level of filter, meaning a very tighter weave. So what that means, it requires more energy to push air through those filters, and up to 50% or even a lot more if you went to a HEPA filter. But we can provide HEPA level antiviral protection without the additional energy. So I don't want to get into all the details of the MERV ratings, but whether it's a MERV 8, which was the most commonly used filter, or a MERV 13, which captures more of the smaller particles, we can coat any of those without increasing the energy requirements for those filters. So it can have a great benefit. The buzzword today is the as-built environment, meaning, say, for example, University of Arizona, they have buildings that are 100 years old, which have old equipment, existing ductwork motors, all those things, to newer buildings. But it's very difficult to retrofit those facilities for a higher level filter without additional maintenance, additional cost, et cetera. So if there's no additional benefit, then our product could allow them to go back to the old filters or use what they're using now, and it's still better antiviral protection. So so we're very excited about being able to bring this to the market.
Mm-hmm. Many of our guests with early stage companies are consumed with the funding of those companies. Mm-hmm. They go through a series, a round of financing, and they're immediately looking for the next round of financing. Could you tell us a little bit about how you're funded and how you project to be funded down the road?
Okay, yeah, you're right. Startup is interesting because when you're pre-revenue, there's a lot of concern about investing. The particularly traditional methods like lending institutions, but so far we've fortunately we had a successful sale of the previous company I ran. So personally, I'm the primary investor right now. We have other investors that have invested, and we're looking at we're looking for additional funding, particularly to get through the regulatory process and other processes till we can adopt more a traditional funding mode. But I would say my priorities right now are, one is the regulatory process and the other is the funding. So we are seeking additional funding right now, more seed round funding than necessarily Series A and B yet. We have the business case and what we need the funding for. Yeah, we're looking for additional funding now, and our to date we've mainly been talking to venture capital as well as high net worth individuals, or I think some people refer to them as angel investors. But that's been really our focus to date, and we've been successful in lining several organizations or individuals up to invest. But as you said, we're constantly looking for additional funding.
Yeah, I mean that's always it always seems to be the primary issue for early stage companies. Can you talk a little bit about the ownership then of Steel Jupiter? You said you're the principal investor at this point, and the diverse makeup of the board.
Sure, I'm the majority owner. We have probably about 12 other equity owners, and that falls into two categories. There's 4 that have actually invested cash into the company, and then the rest have been a lot of sweat equity. So, for example, some of our key executives work for free for the first 6 months, and then are working below market wage now. So they're building sweat equity in the company. And that's really more what our cap table looks like. And we still have treasury stock that we'll be using to bring on additional investors. And we have been very successful, and in terms of finding board members that believe in our product, believe in what we're trying to accomplish from a social good standpoint, and are really committed to that mission, but also bring a great diversity to our process. And I don't just mean, we're certainly diverse from a gender, racial standpoint, but as important is the different backgrounds that they bring. So we have board members out of the financial business. We have board members out of consumer products business. For example, Robert Lewis is one of our board members. He was the head of technology innovation for PepsiCo and other companies. Mitch Wienick is been a division president at Kraft, ran CDI, which is a local Philadelphia company, kind of before they went down a little bit, but and others. I could go on and on. One is a former chief commercial officer for Sanofi, so quite a variety of backgrounds and input. So our board meetings are very, very collaborative. We actually meet once a month. We don't, because given the stage of our company and where we're going, so it's a very collaborative board, excellent input, and really help shape the direction of the company.
That's impressive. Thank you, Carlos.
Carlos, can you talk a little bit about who your competitors are? Maybe not mentioning them by name, but give the audience an idea of who they are.
I would say that there's really not direct competitors, there's alternatives. So for example, and all of them have good technology. So, there's atmospheric plasma that you can flood your room with and it'll kill the virus. Ours is more immobilization, theirs is, kill the virus. But they all have there's no one technology that really fits all applications. So atmospheric plasma has its place. There's UV lighting has its place. So certainly, there's your standard disinfectants that they don't really filter the air, but they can kill the virus on surfaces and things like that. So, and then just within the filtration technology there, obviously you can go to higher and higher rated filters, and that's an alternative for you. And once our product is out, you'll still have that alternative, but now you'll be able to have them coated with our product that'll certainly increase the antiviral ability. But if you want a higher level filter to trap more particulate, then great, you can still have the antiviral benefit of our coating. So it's really a mix of different alternatives depending on what your particular situation is. I think the advantage we offer for ours is that UV and atmospheric plasma are great for clean your surfaces or whatever it is. But I think for air filtration, will provide, it's not on the market yet. But what we do is it's a very simple solution, meaning you don't have to change how you're operating with filters. People change them out. Used to be quarterly, and now with COVID, people change them out more frequently. But whatever your frequency is, you're doing the exact same thing. You're not changing it. You're not forcing people to change their behavior. Very simple. No additional maintenance, no additional energy, no additional capital costs, nothing. So it's going to be a very, very simple solution. And certainly for additional protection, you can add other things, to clean your workspace and things like that. But as far as air filtration, I would say our uniqueness is really, it's a very, very simple, straightforward solution.
So what would success look like in 5 years for your business and for you?
Well, 5 years from now, I would say that we'd like to be known as, well, two things. One is, that as many people as want to use a product, it's available to them. They can use it. We're helping protect people from either the next variant of COVID or the next COVID or even influenza, right? Before COVID, we just kind of accepted that in the US, 30 to 40,000 people die of the flu, right? We just that was a natural thing. Okay, that's what happens. And now if we can reduce that, think of how many lives that could potentially be saved. Now, and also, so one is that our product is used not just in North America, but used globally. The other is that we become known as really indoor air experts. So I mentioned all these other technologies. I mean, we've been working with and discussing with those companies, how do we provide an integrated solution to customers? So we're learning and becoming experts in those technologies. And we don't necessarily want to become the plasma filter guys, atmospheric plasma, but we want to work with key partners that can bring that to the table when a customer needs that. So we want to be the experts on indoor air quality. Second to that, we have a queue of about 10 different new technologies that are all related to health and the environment, whether it's solar to hydrogen projects for clean fuels, whether it's better water filtration solutions that use waste from other areas to remove heavy metals, so that are low cost and again sustainable type of solutions. So we'd like to continue. 5 years from now, we'd have to have 10 technologies that we've proven and brought to the market that protect human health, and even better if it also protects the environment as well. So that's where we'd like to be 10 years from now.
Carlos, I mean, your crystal ball's as good as mine or anybody else's, but since you're in the business, I'll throw this out there. Do you think that our viewers should prepare themselves potentially mentally for another few years, like what we've just been through, based on whether it's, bats, whether it's coming out of labs? Do you think there's more of this to come, or do you think we'll be back to, hey, flu and COVID will look more like flu? And again, I'm asking you to look into the crystal ball.
Well, I mean, I can't really give you an answer. But what I tell you, what I hope is we don't have to go through this again. That's my sincere hope, and that on the other hand, we should be prepared. We should be preparing ourselves. And I know there's a lot of people working on that topic, but we should be prepared, preparing what happens when the next one comes. And,
Right.
So we're part of hopefully, helping contain the existing, but also helping us be prepared for the next one. So, a lot of debate, that's why I'm focused on how do we make a better mask? Because in the future, if that happens, we know I don't like wearing masks, but I view them as a cheap insurance, right? But if you can make it breathable so people aren't as confined, then great. Then we're ready for the next one. Or, like I said, there's people now that have to wear masks all the time. So, I said, I sincerely hope we don't have to deal with this again, but hopefully if we do, that the impacts will be less.
Agreed.
Carlos, we're getting short on time, so it may be that we'll be interrupted here as you're trying to answer this question. But let me ask you this one, bringing this back now to the Philadelphia region. From your perspective, what are the biggest challenges or opportunities for the greater Philadelphia area in terms of a vibrant scientific life sciences or technology community or communities?
Well, I think the Philadelphia region certainly has a lot of the components already, great universities, a lot of talent, in the market, et cetera. And certainly it's a hub for life sciences type of technology. I think the key thing is for, and there's business incubators, there's Ben Franklin Technologies, a great organization. But I think that just from my experience, what I would say is, and I'd love to be able to do this when we start generating funds, but really more help for the for small businesses or innovators to bring their technology to market, because the patents are not easy or cheap to get. Certainly regulatory approval. And I'm not arguing that the regulatory that there's certainly a purpose. EPA and FDA have to protect human health and the environment and make sure that people's claims are real. So if someone's using a product, it really does what it says it's supposed to do. So those are key processes, but they take time and they're expensive. You have to do a lot of testing, et cetera, all those things. And I'm not arguing against any of that, but small companies may not understand what that's going to take and what kind of funding they may need to do that, or even just a roadmap to help them plan for it. And I think one thing that would help smaller companies like ours, or people who
We got about 10 seconds, Carlos.
How do you get through that process?
You've been a great guest. We have at least another show's worth of material that we could cover with you. Thank you. Thank you, Kimon. As usual, tremendous job guest hosting. Want to remind our viewers that next week our guest is Walter Feynman, CEO of Feynman and Company, and he is involved in the software industry. I'm sure that'll be a great discussion. To all of you who joined us, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you next time on Money Matters. Good night.